Doctor Sleep is written and directed by Mike Flanagan, and it's a sequel to The Shining, and it's based on the book by Stephen King that was written in 2013.
This movie stars Ewan McGregor. Oh my God. McGregor. This movie stars Ewan McGregor, Rebecca Ferguson, and I'm pretty sure how you pronounce it, but Kylie Curran. Obviously, it's one of those movies you're kind of on edge about before you watch it. You're kind of like, I don't know how good it's gonna be, because like I said, if you watched our video right before this, we decided to review The Shining. Probably, and to me and to a lot of people, it's their favorite horror movie of all time. And so going into this, you're walking in and you're hoping that at the least, it'll at least live up and maybe at least be respectable to the first one. And I'm glad to say that it is. This movie is actually really good. I want to say this real fast though. If you walk into this movie expecting it to be as good as The Shining, I just want to let you know you're an idiot. Okay? Don't do that, because it's not. Don't expect it to be as good as The Shining, because then you're just setting it up for failure. You're setting up someone who's worked hard on a movie, and actually pretty well done movie. It's obvious they're true fans of the original, and someone who worked hard, who used their mind on this movie, and you're setting them up for failure for going in there expecting it to be as good as The Shining.
Yeah, I really went into this movie really hesitant, like you were saying. The trailers, I didn't think they looked bad or anything, but they didn't really like hook me into be like, yes, I really want to see this. But I had a good amount of faith in Mike Flanagan. Yeah. He did The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix last year, which I absolutely loved. Mm-hmm. And he's done a few other movies I haven't really seen. Like he's done Oculus, he's done Hush, which I know have all been critically acclaimed, but I haven't seen a lot of his other work other than Haunting of Hill House. Yeah. But after watching this movie, I was blown away by how much this movie lived up to The Shining. Mm-hmm. Like you said, I'm not going to say it's as good as The Shining, obviously, because The Shining, it was a perfect movie, pretty much. But this movie was a great sequel. Mm-hmm. And the thing that's great about Mike Flanagan is that he pays more attention to story than trying to be like outright scary. Yeah. And that's what I love about Haunting of Hill House, and that's what I loved about this. He doesn't try to go too far out there with scariness. Mm. He doesn't try to put a bunch of jump scares like a lot of modern movies do nowadays. Yeah. He just tries to make a movie that has a good story with a little bit of creepiness to it. Yeah,
and this movie really shows just how effective it is to not have jump scares, because this movie, I think, maybe one slight small jump scare, but I don't even know if it really wasn't even that much of a jump scare.
Yeah, it was only one that really got me. Yeah. It was towards the end, but that's about it.
Yeah, and there's like one, and it worked, and it wasn't really that much of a jump scare at all, but that's it. And throughout this entire movie, I'm not gonna act like this movie is extremely terrifying. It's not as like creepy or scary as The Shining, but it is actually creepy at certain times. And that creepiness really is held out to the artistic talent of the people behind the camera. Yeah. But whenever it comes to it, they just don't use jump scares. And you're realizing, this is a really well done way, because I think, jump scares, they really just release tension, But this movie, whenever it's creepy, it holds on to you.
A lot of the imagery was done really well. A lot of the kind of makeup and special effects that were used in this movie really well. But I do want to talk about the cinematography. Yeah. The cinematography was mind-blowing as well. Especially, like, there's one sequence, which I want to go too into because towards the middle of the movie. But it was like a telepathic sequence, kind of. That's the best way I can explain it without giving too much away about what's going on in the sequence. But it was filmed so beautifully, kind of, that it came off just kind of eerie. And just all around, it was just... all the cinematography in the movie was enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, and I do want to bring up two things that I think people are going to have a problem with, that I don't have a problem with at all. Number one, this movie is, it's not boring, but it is a kind of slower paced movie. And this movie really does just focus on Danny Torrance. That's pretty much the big chunk of this movie. It's his story. If you're going in here and you're expecting it to be scary all throughout, it's not. It's actually decently slow. In the beginning, especially towards about the first half of the movie, is decently slow, but I never found it boring once, because it was always interesting.
Yeah, this movie, I mean, it's 2.5 hours long, and I really felt like a lot of it felt like I was watching like a little mini series, kind of like episodes. Yeah. Because like the first like third of the movie, like you said, is just dealing with Danny Torrance. and showing how he's dealing with these demons from the things that happen in The Shining. And that's what the whole first third of the movie is really just about.
Yeah.
And that felt like a season opener to a show.
Yeah.
And then the rest was, and then after that, just like carried on over to the next part of the next portion of the movie. And that made that movie kind of enjoyable to watch.
And the second thing I want to bring up that I think people are going to have an issue with, which is something I kind of got thrown off by for a second. I was like, I kind of like it. They do bring back characters from the original. Okay? Obviously. I mean, whenever I say they bring back characters from the original, I don't talk about Danny. Like, it shows scenes that were in the original.
Yeah.
Or scenes that happened right after the original.
Right.
Or something like that. And it shows these characters at the same age they were in The Shining, but instead of CGIing, they actually put actors in. They were actors. They were new actors. Well, I'm not saying like new actors, but like they're new
different
actors. Yeah, different actors. They're different actors, obviously. And so I'm gonna say they don't necessarily look like them that much. It's kind of obvious that it's different actors because they don't really look like them. They did the best they could with how they looked. They don't look like them.
Sorry.
And sorry. And when we go to movies like, let's talk about like It Chapter 2. And it's one of the reasons why I like this, because maybe it had, I can imagine this movie didn't have a huge budget. Maybe it had around the same budget. And maybe it just didn't want to do CGI, which is respectable. CGI on people's faces, which is respectable enough.
Right.
You know? And so, It Chapter 2 had that thing where they like CGI people.
De-aged.
They de-aged.
Yeah.
And it really was pretty bad.
Right.
You know? But in this movie, even though they don't look like the original characters, it's kind of respectable that they went that route of not CGIing people.
Yeah, they should have done. It just kind of reminded me off the top of my head while you're talking about it, those deep fakes that people do with Jim Carrey's face on Jack Nicholson in The Shining. It just like really worked well in this situation.
Yeah. The next thing to talk about is the acting for this movie. Ewan McGregor, I think we all know he's a great actor. He does fantastic in this movie.
I'm excited for the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah, exactly. He does really good. But then you have I forgot her name already. The young girl, Kylie Curran. She is actually really good in this movie. She does really well.
Yeah, I'm always scared whenever there's a kid actor.
Yeah, it's kind of a
nothing against kids.
Yeah,
but,
it's an unfortunate thing, but like a lot of times, and it seems like here lately, Hollywood is starting to actually care about whether or not their kid actors are good. It seems like that's happening a lot here lately.
Yeah.
You know, so that's really good to see. But she actually does really well in this movie. There's a really good chemistry between the two that really is brought out.
I do want to talk a little bit about fan service because there is quite a bit of fan service in this movie. I want to say there's like too much fan service. But what I do want to say is that they do utilize fan service pretty well.
Yeah.
They do have certain things that are similar to The Shining in this movie. Certain shots, they have certain things that are in this movie that are from The Shining. That some people might say it was too much, but I felt like they wove it into the story pretty well. And then the shots, the callbacks to the shots, it was just kind of a fun thing to see.
And as for negatives, I would say maybe the only thing really is there is the transition between scenes, especially in the first half, is a little strange. You know, it felt like it kind of the transitioning and editing of just the beginning kind of felt like it was jumping all over the place from place to place, and it just gave it a weird pacing. I'm not gonna say it ruined those parts because all the scenes were good and it was easy to understand. It's just that it kind of threw the pacing off just a little bit.
And if I had to say one kind of weak link of this movie, which is not even really that big of a negative to me because I still enjoyed it this part pretty well, but the antagonist of this movie, I didn't fully buy into these kind of characters in the Shining universe, kind of, if that makes any sense. They weren't like bad characters or anything. They're actually pretty decent, especially when they interacted with Ewan McGregor's character and then the other main girl kid actor. And then the last little negative, again, it's not a huge negative that I want to bring up, but it's something that I kind of thought about while watching the movie, is that it's towards the end of the movie, so I'm not going to get into specifics, but there's something that happens that the characters decide to do at the end of the movie that I wish they would have explained more of why they needed to do it. I wish they would have shown it a little more instead of just saying this is why we need to do it. And that's just a little something that I thought of while watching the movie.
Well, overall, guys, if you were skeptic about this film, I hopefully we put your fears to rest on this movie. Overall, this movie, don't expect it to be as good as The Shining. I don't know why you would do that in the first place. That movie is absolutely perfect. So I just don't expect it to be as good as that. But this movie is truly a solid addition to Danny Torrance's story.
Overall, this movie just blew me away by how well it was crafted, how well it paid respects to The Shining without trying to do too much with it. I honestly think it's as good of a sequel as we could have gotten for The Shining.
We are gonna say that Dr. Sleep is 93% awesome. Well, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment and let us know what you thought about Dr. Sleep. Also, we'll put a link in the description below, and if we can know how to do it, I'll put a little thing somewhere, I don't know how at the top, to a link to our video over our review over The Shining. Also, a little bit back, a while ago, I did a thing, because there's like a little thing going on YouTube where you got like Mr. Blue Sky, and you like did the beginning of, you did like a scene from the movie, and put it to the style of the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Yeah. I did that with The Shining, and we'll go ahead and put a link in the description below to that too if you want to watch that as well.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2 Awesome Men.
And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see us later.